What's up, hobby maniacs? Rob Bear here today with part 2 of our how to paint chevrons or hazard stripes tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to get in there and do some of the fine edging that it really seems to be required to, kind of set the contrast between the area that you just chevroned and perhaps the rest of the model, and also how to add some weathering to it to make it blend in with the rest of the model, because you want your vehicles to look a little natural, and if you have them weathered, you're probably going to want to weather over the striping, which can be a little, I guess scary at first because you don't want to ruin all that work you just did with the airbrush, but we'll show you how to get it done. Make sure you stay in the trenches, subscribe to this YouTube channel, check out the blog, spikybitsblog.com, and head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content and early access videos. Become a veteran of the Long War today. So like I was saying, this is the second part of our how to paint chevron or tutorial video. It's it's a 10-minute. It's pretty good. I'm going to show you some techniques, some of the colors we use for weathering, from harvest brown to cadmium black brown, also some of the blacks we use, which is like just army painter. You can pretty much use whatever there. I like army painter because it's got a little watered down to it. But other than that, it's pretty much personal preference at that point, I feel like. So, it's a very simple process. You just got to get in there and you really got to do some actual, basic paint, brushwork and things like that. And you're going to notice, and I call it out in the video, that basically I'm creating a brace with my pinky finger, and also, to brace against either my other fingers here, or perhaps, kind of like some of the parts themselves, and to get in there and really get that fine control with, the fine tip brush, because you want to get those nice straight lines that are really important to give that contrast, and you don't want to mess up, that parts you just airbrushed there. So let's jump right into it and check out this week's tutorial. Okay, so in the last episode, we showed you basically how to set up all your chevrons, get them all airbrushed up, do the fades, get it all up to this point right here. Because now what we're going to do is get in there and weather it. Because you can tell by looking at this piece, the rest of the piece that was taped off, is it's got weathering all over it. And obviously the chevrons look like they just got applied, by those little servitor guys that I guess go out there and paint the vehicles. So we don't want that. We want to, we want to get in there and have some, some painted action on it. We don't want it to look like it just rolled off the chevron assembly line there, so to speak. So we're going to use a combination of a bunch of different weathering paints. You've probably seen them on here before. Some of the stuff we used on this Wyvern right here, the rest of the Wyvern. Now you can tell like it's open treaded vehicle, so there's going to be a lot of mud, a lot of dirt, a lot of stuff getting kicked up on the battlefield. So you definitely wanted to reflect that on the chevrons, on those leading edges of the armor plates there, because they're basically right upside the tread. So it was gonna, it's gonna be a super easy project. It just takes a little bit of time to tighten everything up. So first off, we're gonna grab some Chaos Black paint from Army Painter. It's one of my go-tos. I like the Army Painter. It's a little bit watered down. I also like to use just a straight airbrush paint from the Vallejo stuff itself. Important thing is here that you want to make a nice crisp tip. So you can see I'm basically getting all the excess paint off, that I'm twisting the brush. I'm making a nice fine point on my brush right there, because I'm going to get in and do some fine line work, because there's a little bit of basically overspray onto the black areas that we started with. Remember, when we started this project, we basically painted the sides all black, and then we did we taped everything off and we did the chevrons over top of it. So I'm basically going to get in here, I'm going to hit the edges, that diagonal right there, that 45. I'm going to get in there and crisp that line up right there. Then I'm going to flip it around, kind of do the same thing at the bottom half of it, because the lip of the armor plate is basically preventing me from getting in there and doing the work from that one angle. So don't be afraid to flip your part around. Your part is there to move. Your hands are not. Your hands can only work a certain way there. And you're noticing too, I use, it's not because I'm a fancy man, but I do like to stick my pinky out, and I put my pinky onto, either I rest it onto my finger or the piece I'm working on. And what that does is that gives me some real fine stability to get those fine lines in there, because you can see I'm basically using my painting hand as like an assembly of stabilization to get in there and let my pointer finger and my middle finger do the work and the precision with the brush. So that's it's a very important thing to always try to keep in mind. A lot of people don't have steady hands. You're like, hey, how do you get these lines so crisp? Well, I mean, I'm using my whole hand, so don't be afraid to try some new things. You know, brace your elbows, maybe in your knees above the table. You know, if you're having problems with that, you know, your table's shaking and things, your parts are shaking. People come up to the if you're painting at the game store, they come up and bump the table. Well, if your elbows and your arms aren't already on the table, well then, you know, you're not going to have that problem. So you can kind of see I'm just kind of getting in here now. I've sped up the track here, but I just wanted to show you all the work that actually went into this. Is I'm going to hit all the edges, the vertical edges, the horizontal edges. It takes a little while, but like I said, it's worth doing because it really gives that depth. You know, part of what makes a model look good on the tabletop, I feel like. What separates a good model, a well-painted model from a not well-painted model is contrast. You know, Kenny over at Next Level Painting, one of my good friends, you know, he explained that to me. He's like, you know, art's just about contrast. And I'm like, huh, yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. And that explains why a lot of times you see stuff on the tabletop that looks good, but then when you really start getting in there close, even though it might be very well done, it might not be up to that standard that some people are used to. But because it has that contrast, you know, the shading, the contrast and the cracks, you know, the stuff like that, it really does a number to make models look good. So it's kind of one of those cheaty kind of paint tricks you can do to make your stuff almost, you know, look better than it really is, along with basing, you know. But I digress. Don't let anybody tell you how to do your hobby. You know, just get in there and do what you like, do what you look good, what you think looks good. You know what I mean? So like, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. There's all these YouTube channels and things out there to help show you how to do exactly what you want to do. You probably just have to Google, hey, I want to paint contrasting lines on chevrons, and somebody's tutorial will come up, hopefully mine, who knows. Something else you might notice, now I didn't really do a tutorial on how I painted the wyvern. I think I was basically just getting used to doing the camera and stuff, but you can kind of see on the wyvern plating there, you know, some of the work I did. Obviously it's airbrush. You know, the top of the panel, which is the bottom right now where my left thumb is actually highlighted greater than, you know, the rest of the parts. There's you know, some of the vanilla oxide effects in there where the metal kind of hits the other metals, because obviously this wyvern's been in the field for a hot minute, and you know, it's been doing a lot of work there. Now I'm working on the left side of the chevrons of the armor plate there, and it's just, you know, it's really, I didn't need to keep going with it. So next up, we're going to start actually hitting the weathering. Make sure that your edging is all dry. You don't want to mess anything up. I'm going to grab some burnt umber, but you can also use that Rhinox hide that you saw there a second ago. Basically just pouring out some burnt umber. Now remember, burnt umber does not look good over steel. Do not make that mistake. And I'm just grabbing some pull and pluck foam. I have literally trash bags full of this stuff. Never throw it away, guys. You will always need it again at some point, whether to repack models or to do just this, which is basically just doing some stippling, where you basically squeeze the tip of this little foam piece here. You can see me squeezing it, dab it off, very nice and easy. And it's basically just like dry brushing. You want to get the majority of the paint off the sponge, and then you're just basically hitting it quick, you know, direct attack actions onto the actual armor plate right there. And you can kind of see, you know, I'm just hitting it quick, just boom, 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 just boom, 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 just kind of like, you know, like a woodpecker, just, you know, pecking against wood, just really quick, just blah, 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 right? It's super easy to do, and if the less time that the sponge is actually on the area itself, the armor plating or the surface that you're painting, you know, the less I guess potential for mess ups there. So there you can kind of see I hit it. I didn't want to go too crazy with it. I definitely wanted to hit the edges, and then, you know, you got to go on the insides there where the insides of the chevrons are. So I hit it basically with that burnt umber. Now the burnt umber it's a really good paint. It's kind of like a mid-range. So we're going to take it up a little. We're going to take it up another notch here. And one of the things I like to do, now this is Reaper Harvest Brown. You probably heard all about this paint. It's just a wonder paint. Kenny loves it. I love it. It's a great mid-level orange brown paint that really does a lot of weathering work. So I'm going to pour some of that out, kind of do the same thing, you know, just kind of squeeze the tip there on the edge of the pull and pluck foam. Just get enough of it off so it's not, you know, it's not saturated, but it's also not super dry. Kind of like, you know, I guess it's more like a wet brush kind of technique. And then I'm basically just going to get in there and just hit a couple spots, hit some raised edges. Not going to go too crazy with it because it is a brighter color, and I'm not trying to get crazy with the cheese whiz. But you can kind of see that, you know, there was some areas there that where I already hit it originally, and I'm just going to kind of hit it some more on the armor plates as well as, you know, the chevrons themselves. And like I said, it's a very bright color, and what's cool about this color is that if you get too crazy with it, or you take it up too high that you're not happy with it, well, you can always come back with a darker color, which is probably going to be the next step here in a few minutes. So, you know, basically just kind of going to speed up the film here, just boom, 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 just hitting it quick, just doing a lot of, you know, just getting in there and doing a lot of stuff. You know, cats are here, they want to help out, they want to see why I'm getting so excited with my hands, you know, moving so fast here, you know, talking over the mic and everything. So they're just like, hey, what's going on? It's super exciting. The next step is that darker brown I was talking about, and this is Vallejo Cadmium black brown. Cadmium, of course, being like a gray, so it's got a little bit of gray, a little bit of black in it. It isn't too crazy of a color, but it isn't that starch dark black that I really feel like in some instances is too much of a contrast. Now, this is my kind of little take on the weathering thing. Kenny doesn't quite isn't on this color as much as I am, but that's just personal preference. You know, Kenny has different preferences. I have different preferences. So I like this instead of black, and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to tone down some of that harvest brown that I did over top already. It's going to kind of tone down some of the burnt umbers I did already as well. So, and then, you know, you just kind of splash a little bit more on there for a little bit of contrast, and it just does its thing. You know, it's super easy. Love it. Good stuff there. It's just a great color. It's super easy to use, and it really does, when you're doing airbrushing, instead of doing black, if you think black is too starch or too stark of a contrast color to use, or you're afraid of it, sometimes, you know, black was a little intimidating to me at first. I used this cadmium black brown because I felt like it was a little bit easier to work with, and also it kind of gave me the effects I was looking for, I felt like. So here it is overall. I've attached the plate now to the Wyvern, and you can tell now it goes along with the whole assembly, the whole vehicle. You know, I feel like it looks great, and you know, I'm pretty happy with this. You know, the client was like, hey man, I want some chevrons. I know you do chevrons. I want your chevrons. All right, cool, dog, I got you. So this was kind of like a going back and do it kind of like a do-over kind of thing, which was a really extremely rewarding project, and I really enjoyed it. And with the little splash of color, I think really kind of popped the whole vehicle overall. So that is the final part of painting chevrons. That was part 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.